What's up, everyone? I'm Gabe Jones, and this is Into Final Space. We have a very, very special episode for you this week. For one, this is the first of 2 fan episodes, and secondly, this episode will be the very first full in-studio live interview. I am very excited because I've always wanted to do an intro like this. So, live from the Into Final Space studio in Atlanta, Georgia, here is your host, Gabe Jones, welcoming very special guest to the show, Mr. Joshua Galang. All right, welcome to the show, Josh. Welcome to the studio. Thanks for talking to me. How are you doing today?
It's good. I moved in a couple of days ago, but yeah, Atlanta's home now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. So to start off, can you just tell us a little bit about who you are?
Well, I'm me, first of all. No, okay, so I am... What about me? I'm just basically a computer science student who ends up doing a lot of interactive animation, art, 3D modeling. I just do a lot of creative stuff with tech wherever I can.
Yeah, cool. All right, so how did you come to discover what we all know as Final Space?
Well, actually, it started out on Discord, where one of my friends was showing me one of the trailers for Season 1, but I didn't find out fully about it until the Coty Galloway AMA on the official Discord the night after Chapter 6 aired. So I hopped on there, and the rest is pretty much history.
Yeah. All right. So, of course, you mentioned you do some art and some graphic design. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, especially when it comes to doing stuff for Final Space?
So for graphic design, it's just kind of always been a bad habit. I've been doodling in notebooks ever since like middle school, even earlier than that. And I guess my margins were very well decorated, so it's just kind of evolved into today where I'm using whatever I can get my hands on. If it's like Adobe Illustrator or free software, I just keep drawing stuff. I'm gonna have to like redo this because this is like nerve-wracking.
You're fine.
I'm sorry.
No, you're doing great. All right.
I was so not prepared for this.
No, you're doing fine. You're doing fine. We of course know you're very active on Discord and on Twitter. And of course, you're very well known for some of your OCs, your Lego design, stuff like that. So you just talk a little bit about coming up with Jason specifically is one of your more famous ones.
Yeah,
your
I make a lot of Final Space stuff, you guys. I started out with making little animations on PowerPoint based on like what episode was going on, and I look back at them and they're really, really crappy now. But what the big one, I started 3D modeling the Galaxy 1, the big ship from the show, and it's deceptively detailed because at first you think it's just a tofu block sitting on a giant hangar bay, and then in the back of it you have something like a soda can cylinder engine. But no, you have to go into there are windows here and the panels go here, and the antenna were actually really difficult. But I went from 3D modeling to OC making and Lego making.
Yeah.
So for my OCs, got a handful, but so far the most famous one right now is Jason. He's just kind of a dork. And he is a mechanic, so he just goes around repairing little ships as best he can with what he's got in his little mobile workshop. And now... Yeah, that's about it. We might have to redo these.
No, you're doing great. You're doing fine.
This is... I can't believe you can't edit these.
This is live recording. So, of course, like we said, you're very highly involved with Discord. Of course, with the official Final Space Discord and the OC Final Space Discord. Talk about just a little bit how you came into adminning and working on the OC Discord?
Well, Gabe, like I said earlier, I joined the server when I heard news that there was going to be an AMA with Cody. And so from that night, I just kind of stayed on there because there's a really big fan community on the Discord. And so what I found out was that while episodes were airing, there were reactions, there were fan art, and there were theories just piling up in there, and it was just the most concentrated place for Final Space fans online. So I started out there, started to rise up in ranks because I couldn't shut up on Discord. So I just kind of kept on rising up until I started to want to help out with moderating. So there's a trial mod called the Helpers of the 12, which is based on the Order of the 12. And it's basically a little trial period where you get the role, you can police the server, make sure everybody's keeping things where they should be, make sure that nobody's writing anything that they shouldn't be writing, and then just slowly rise up in the ranks from there. But it's a lot of fun to get more involved with the community and then better your relationship with your friends along the way.
Yeah. And you mind talking a little bit more about the kind of community and the family that's this really cool fan base in Discord and how that kind of grown since the show's been going on?
Yeah, it's a very dedicated fan base in that not only do we love the show, but we have grown up with and we've spent time with each other. We've been watching the episodes and reacting and drawing fan art and showing each other, but we've also been talking and making friends with each other based off of other interests besides Final Space. Like if you play the same game, we've had many a Rocket League night where we just play matches until 4 a.m. and I wouldn't be able to wake up the next day. But I've made so many friends that way.
Yeah, and it's a really unique community to go into and talk with people that are of similar interests, and you kind of find new friends within that. So,
Mm-hmm.
So of course, in this week's episode, they remembered a character that you designed was on the show, which is very cool. So can you just give us some background of how that happened, and then what was that like?
Yeah. So last fall, TBS ran a contest called Final Space Me, where if you created a 30-second video using their augmented reality app, you had the chance to be flown out to Hollywood and become a part of Final Space. So for my video, I wanted to get pretty creative over the summer, and in addition to using the AR app, I used my 3D model of the Galaxy 1 to come in for a landing, as well as some of the tips and tricks that I had sort of self-taught from PowerPoint animating to add on to a regular video. And when I submitted it, I had ended up winning the competition. And so that was what kicked off this entire trip to Shadow Machine, among other things.
So can you tell us a little bit about what it was like out there in LA?
Yeah, I've never been to Hollywood before, so it was pretty crazy to just fly in there and then get chauffeured out by a nondescript tinted black van. It was pretty suspicious, but my sister came with me. We went in the van and realized that why are there mints and a coffee machine back here? But it was really fun. We ended up staying on Hollywood Boulevard near the Chinese Theater, which was pretty nice.
Cool.
But yeah, once we were there, we ended up touring around Hollywood, just kind of exploring around for a little bit before heading to the studio the next day. Now, with Shadow Machine, it's kind of like a really nondescript building. You don't know that it's an animation studio, but it's in the middle of West Hollywood among other buildings like it, so we didn't know which one was which. And so what the car did after dropping us off was we didn't know where to go inside. So we just kind of wandered around the building for a bit until we buzzed the door and we saw folks going in through it. And we met the camera crew. So I was waiting out there for a couple minutes drinking water because I was freaking out. And it was a pretty short wait, honestly. They wanted to keep me outside to keep this element of surprise.
Yeah.
And when we finally got in to the main lobby, there was the man, the myth, the very, very tall guy. Olin was there, so we ended up shaking hands, and he welcomed me to the studio.
Awesome. And as I understand, you sat down with character creators and kind of just drew up this character that would be on the show?
Yep. So we ended up walking through the studio for a little bit, going through the little departments. The whole final space section was in this really cool part of the building where it's like an inside tree house where there are different levels and levels depending on departments. So like there's a little row of computers and this is the storyboard department, or this is the asset creation where they make all the little props and stuff.
Right, yeah.
And so we were led through the hallways. He was telling me what was what. I was saying hi to like the storyboard artists. And then finally Devo and I got to his desk, which is a little it's a little glass office, but it's covered in fan art. Like the entire outside wall is covered in fan art. And we started to design. So we first started out with like a species. So we kind of went ahead with a Fantrexian because why not? And I guess he just started doodling, and then we just kind of went from there.
Yeah, awesome. And then, of course, your character was on the show this week, so you.
Yeah, he was there. He's in the foreground somewhere in episode 18.
Yeah.
We decided on naming him Jalapeno, like the pepper, because green and because it would make a really good pun. It's actually a terrible pun, but it stuck anyway.
No, that's great. Yeah, that's awesome. So, what are your plans interacting with the show? Going forward when it comes to working with the Discord some more art, etc.
Well, right now I'm still working on different fan art for the show. Like recently, I just finished my Crimson Light Lego model, and I want to actually order the pieces to build that in real life, and hopefully it's structurally sound enough so that it won't fall apart.
Yeah.
But yeah, along with that, it's just been a lot of still monitoring the Discord and trying to improve my art skills.
Yeah, cool. And so just in general, what are your future plans with life?
You sound like my guidance counselor. But yeah, right now I'm currently working in human-computer interaction, which concerns like software design and development and user experience. So I want to combine technology and art in order to make software usable and beautiful at the same time.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Well, thank you again for joining me today and answering these questions.
All right, well, thanks for having me in this lovely studio.
So once again, a huge thanks to Josh for coming on today as my first live guest. If you haven't had a chance to see his character in Final Space, you can find it in Season 2, Episode 8 on many of the popular streaming services. In other news, I recently hosted a competition to find the top Final Space Super Fantrexian.
Besides me.
And I had over 40 of you guys enter. Thank you so much. I selected 5 finalists, and you guys voted on the top fan. That winner, Maddie, will be joining me on the next episode of Into Final Space to talk about her work on the show, doing different stuff for the show. As always, follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Into Final Space. This has been Gabe Jones and
Joshua Galang.
And we'll see you next time on
Into Final Space.
Thanks, guys.